Good luck.
Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Webster Vienna Private University, Avusturya ve ABD Çift Akreditasyonlu Eğitim ve Viyana'da Yaşamı Deidre'den dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı questions kısmından sormayı unutmayın. Yes, Deidre, the stage is yours now.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Vienna, Austria. This is Deidre Dino, and I'm Head of Admissions and Student Account Manager at Webster Vienna Private University. I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. Let's see if this should work. Screen. Right. Oh, that looks really interesting. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Perfect. Thank you so much for confirming. So this is actually a photo of our campus in Vienna. This is where I'm currently speaking to you from. I'm in my office on the second floor. This is Webster Vienna Private University. So let's see. And we start off by indicating and telling you why it's actually nice to be able to study in Vienna and why you should choose Vienna as your destination for your university studies. You're studying in the heart of Europe. First of all, Vienna has been voted the most livable city in the world. And we're talking about world-known, world-class surveys called by Mercer and Forbes. For the last 10 years, it's always been in the top 3. And consecutively, for the last 3 years, it's been number 1. It's a business and diplomatic hub. We have over 40 international organizations, diplomatic missions, and NGOs. In fact, in 2018, 200 international multinational corporations have actually established their offices and headquarters here in Vienna just for that year. It's also a city of music, so if you're actually a fan of classical music, you'll be happy to know that Vienna is the world's capital of classical music, and more famous composers have lived here than anywhere else in the world. It's got a great location. It's right at the center of Europe. It's connected really well with all other important and fascinating cities of European countries. And apart from that, if you are an outdoorsy person and you actually are interested in cultural events, opera, sports, and you like nature, then it's the best place for you to be because you can find all of these and more if you study and live in Vienna. Just a little bit about our history. Webster Vienna Private University started out as the European campus or the Austrian campus of Webster University, which was founded in 1915. So it's actually over 100 years old. Very important milestones here. 1981, at the invitation of the mayor of the city of Vienna, the Vienna campus of Webster University opened. We then started offering an accredited MBA program in English in Austria, the very first of its kind. In 2001, yet another milestone was reached when Webster Vienna Private University became an Austrian accredited private university, which means that we are now part of the European higher education area. And this is valuable for students who want to be able to pursue studies or advanced studies after they graduate within the European higher education area. 2014, we moved into the Palais Wenkheim, which is our residence, our campus, which you saw on the first slide. That was the photo. 2015, Webster University, our parent university, celebrated 100 years. And this year, we're actually celebrating our 40th anniversary. So why should you choose Webster Vienna? Here are some photos of our students and our professors. First of all, dual accreditation. Now, the programs that we offer are based on the programs of Webster University, which are accredited by the Higher Learning Commission in the United States. But because we also received accreditation from the Austrian Quality Assurance Accreditation Agency, we now also award a second diploma. Of course, you'll have to meet the credit requirements and spend 75% or earn 75% of your credits here in the Vienna campus. But you could be eligible to receive 2 diplomas, one that is American with US credit hours and one that is European, which has the European Credit Transfer System or ECTS point system. We have an American curriculum which allows you, for example, to not just have your major, but also a minor or what we would call a secondary emphasis. So you could perhaps be interested in management, but also be interested in psychology. Normally, in other European universities, you can never combine those two, or maybe you can take one or two classes. But here, we have a lot of students who, for example, take a major in management or a major in, let's say, international relations, and then have a minor in psychology. We actually have several minors available. So you could technically take management with an emphasis, for example, in psychology, or a minor in psychology, but you can also combine philosophy or political science with all different major combinations. We have small class sizes. 27 is the maximum in each class, but that's actually the maximum. It's not the average. Usually in every class, we only have about 15 students that participate, and that's even fewer for graduate or master's degree classes. So it's very important. You're not just one face in a sea of 200 students waiting for your turn to get to ask a question from the professor. We are global citizens. We allow our students to be exposed to different case studies, field projects and guest lectures, and the people leading these events are all international. They're not just from the US and Austria, but from all over the world. We also, by the way, have over 70 nationalities, even though we're a small university. We also have the global citizen, the focus on soft skills. And this is true because we have the liberal arts program. Why is this important? Because in the end, it's not just being a specialist in your major that makes you employable. What's very important these days is the soft skills. Soft skills in this case would mean presentation skills, leadership, negotiation, critical thinking, problem solving, and learning to work with others who may come from a different background. And these are valuable skills in the workforce. You cannot hope to find a good job and climb the corporate ladder if you don't know how to work with other people and if you can't solve problems and think critically. So these are all important, and I have to say not all universities actually focus on these soft skills. So we have bachelor's degree programs. We're not a very big university. Right now, we're only about 400 students, combined bachelor's and master's, but we have 7 bachelor's degree programs. So we have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. We have, or BSc is the shortened term for that, shortcut, the Bachelor of Arts in International Relations, Strategic Communication, Psychology, and Management. Now, management has 2 emphases that you can choose from as well if you wanted to be a little bit more specialized. So you have a BA in Management with an emphasis in international business, and you also have a BA in Management with an emphasis in marketing. I mentioned before that you could actually take a secondary focus, which we call a minor, as opposed to a major. And we do have minors that you can take in business and economics and philosophy and history, in media and others. So what do you do and how long is this program? So normally an American bachelor's degree takes 4 years to complete because you have the required liberal arts classes that would help you with your soft skills and with research, which is very important in the European higher education landscape. Now, it really depends on what program you've done. So we've got students who have taken the IB or the International Baccalaureate Diploma exams. There are IB schools all over the world and certainly also in Turkey. And so if you've had the IB diploma program and you've successfully passed your classes and your examinations, then you could qualify for advanced standing credits. And some of these classes can replace some liberal arts courses that you were supposed to take. That's an example. So same is true for A levels, for advanced placement examinations. So that's what we call credit by exam. If you wish to apply, we of course have minimum admissions requirements. All of our programs are in English, so we don't really care if you speak German or not. That's not going to be a requirement. But we do need to make sure that your English is sufficient enough that you can actually pass your subjects. Very important. But to actually attend a university, because we are accredited in Europe and in Austria, it's important to have proof that you graduated from secondary school, that you have a secondary school leaving certificate or a leaving diploma. We do look at the grades. We're very inclusive, but we understand you have to put effort. And so we also require that you have good grades, or at least in the American grade point average scale, you should have a 2.5 if the perfect score is 4.0. And this would translate to about 80% out of 100%. If your English proficiency has not been established, we normally require the test scores from IELTS or TOEFL. Test of English as a foreign language if you want American English. The International English Language Testing System, or IELTS, is taken at the British Council, and you can find that in every country. TOEFL actually now has an at-home special edition, which you can take online as long as you've met the computer requirements. We also need you to be able to write very easily, so we need an original applicant essay. We can give you the topics to choose from. We need one recommendation letter. We also need a copy of a valid passport. So that's just for the admissions process for bachelor's degree programs. We also offer 5 master's degree programs. So we have a Master of Science in Finance, Master of Science in Marketing, Master of Arts in International Relations, Master of Arts in Psychology, but this is focused on counseling psychology. So for those who want to be able to work in international school counseling, in psychotherapy, but remember, psychology is regulated, so every country has its own requirements for licensing. And of course, we have the Master of Business Administration, or the MBA. Again, all of these programs are in English, but generally, master's programs take 2 years to complete. We don't actually condense it into 1 year because then you end up really scrambling to just pass classes. And it's important, we're very strict about grades when it comes to master's programs. Now, if you're working, we also have a part-time option. But obviously, if you're working and you're only able to take 1 class every term or 2 classes every semester, then obviously you're going to take longer to complete. But that's not a problem. We've had students who've taken a break because they needed to focus on traveling and on their work, or establishing a family. These are all life circumstances that are completely understandable, and you also have to prioritize them. So the part-time option is available, and you can also take a break and then come back. Minimum admissions requirements. So similarly, we need proof that you are proficient in English, and not just with speaking, but also with academic English, because you're going to have to do a research dissertation or a thesis. Here we would require English proficiency tests, slightly higher scores, of course. You also have to have completed or are about to complete a bachelor's degree diploma from a school or university or a college that is nationally or internationally accredited. Recommendation letter is required. It doesn't have to be from a professor, but also maybe from a work supervisor. We also require an original applicant essay. The topic is based on what program you're looking to apply to. And by the way, for the MBA program, we do require that you have at least 2 years of relevant work experience. Obviously, a copy of the passport is not listed, but it's also required. So at least we know in advance if you're going to need a visa or not. Good. So the application is really fast and simple. First of all, you create an online account. Nothing is on paper anymore, to be honest. So everything is via an online application form, which we can also view, and we can help you out with that if we know you're about to apply. You have to submit the online application, because the submission of the online application starts the process of uploading or updating the documents that you have to upload. So then you have to upload your copy of the passport, your resume, if you're a master's degree applicant, your academic transcripts and copy of your diploma, a recommendation letter, your English test results, and of course, your original essay. So now, American universities, especially private universities, are notorious for having very exorbitant or very high tuition fees. And Webster Vienna is also a private university, so our operations as well as our human resources and all non-human resources are based on tuition fee payments. So we can only sustain operations with that. However, we've tried our best to remain competitive. In the United States, the average tuition fee for an American private university, let's say in the middle states, would be about $37,000 a year. So we've tried to minimize that and decrease that substantially. But however, it's still comparatively expensive. So that's why we actually now have strengthened and improved our new student scholarships. Very important though, you cannot apply for a scholarship unless you've already been accepted to a full degree program. You can't just go ahead and apply for a scholarship when we have no idea if you're even qualified to be accepted. Now, new student scholarships are based on academic strength and financial need. We are not going to give you a scholarship if your parents are already millionaires. That's out of the question. So we're going to help those who actually can prove that they require assistance. And of course, you have to have good or strong academic records. We're going to base the awards based on how strong your academic records are. Obviously, you'll have to have a very strong English proficiency as well, because that's part of, you know, how we make decisions about whom to admit. And of course, you know, proof that, you know, you're not earning as much, or you're not, you know, earning so much in investments, for example, or your parents are not, like I said, millionaires. Apart from these, we also have training scholarships. So once you're an enrolled student, we actually, especially for students who are going into bachelor's degrees, one of the things you start worrying about is your work experience. So normally what we do is we allow students to get scholarship discounts by applying to work for different departments within Webster Vienna Private University. That's what we call a training scholarship. It's like applying for a job, but instead of getting a salary, you get tuition fee discounts for a semester. And you can work in departments such as finance, you can work with different academic departments in research. So and library, for example, you can also work in our library with our marketing team. With our events team. So it really depends, but there are several different openings every year for currently enrolled students. For those who have family members who graduated from Webster, any Webster University, because there are many around the world, you could apply for a legacy grant, which is either 5% if it's your cousin or your grandparents that graduated from Webster, or if it's your sister or brother or parents, you can get a 10% discount. A second degree grant means that you finished your bachelor's degree at Webster and you want to continue your master's, so that will be your second degree, in which case you'll be granted a 20% discount. Now, we also have externally sponsored scholarships, and this is for bachelor's degree applicants. That's very competitive. For new students, there is one scholarship that is highly substantial. It is actually 20,000 euros a year, which is pretty much, you know, our tuition fee. But this is awarded to one student every year, and it's renewable. So all of our scholarships are renewable for those who are getting it based on academics and financial need. You have to maintain your grades every year and you keep getting the scholarship. But if your grades go down, then you could lose a scholarship. We also have merit scholarships after the first year. If you've done really well in your studies at Webster, then you could apply for a merit scholarship, which only looks at how strong your grades are in your first year. Good. So student life. So this is more, I would say, for bachelor's degree applicants, because obviously master's degree applicants, I would say, would already have a lot of experience with student life. But at Webster Vienna, we combine the best of both worlds. It's an American and an Austrian experience, and of course, European in that respect. We have activities that we promote to our students. So for example, Vienna is known for having these nice dances and balls where you could go to a celebration dressed up, you could dance, and you could eat good food. So those are very popular, and we get discounted tickets for our students. As an American university, we also celebrate Thanksgiving. Obviously, it didn't happen in 2020 because of the pandemic, but usually we have a big Thanksgiving dinner where you could RSVP and join and enjoy a real American, authentic American Thanksgiving dinner with a turkey, with the pies and the mashed potatoes and the gravy and so on and so forth. We also have community events. So we have Spirit Week. We've got Webster's Got Talent, which is hilarious, but really also brilliant in that it shows how many of our students are actually very talented and we have no idea. So it's a chance for them to showcase that. With the prize that if you win first or second place, you get to compete with the other European campuses of Webster University. So student life, apart from that, you could actually join a club or start your own. And we have the Student Resource Center, which is our department that helps students with setting up their own clubs, whether it's sports related, subject related. For example, up on this photo, you see our football or soccer team. In America, they call it soccer. Here we call it football. We also have started the basketball and volleyball clubs, and we also have the Model United Nations, which is both a club and a subject in the International Relations degree program. We also have established a philosophy club, the chess club, so it really depends what you're interested in. Obviously, this changes depending on what students are interested in, and as students who founded these clubs leave and graduate, then some of these clubs basically stop operating and are replaced by newer clubs or organizations. One of the very important aspects of Webster University is that we are part of a global network of universities. Some of the campuses that we have are on display here. We have photos of the main campus. Well, this is actually St. Louis, Missouri, where the main campus of Webster University is located. So we're basically just showing you the photos of the different cities. We have a campus in Leiden in Netherlands. We have a campus in Geneva in Switzerland. We even have a campus in Africa in Ghana, Accra, Ghana. We have campuses in Thailand, which, by the way, that might actually move to a different location the next year. We're not sure yet, but we're scoping Southeast Asia and looking for a different country to establish a campus in. And the newest campus is in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. So very beautiful buildings over there, lots of students. They do have ESL programs there for those who would want to, to first have an English language support program. That will be the best campus to go to. So what's very important with Webster University, Webster Vienna Private University especially, is that you want to have a return on your investment. Obviously, if you're going to invest in your education and pay a ton of money to get a bachelor's or a master's, the least you can expect is to get a good job after you graduate. That's, of course, what we would call the reward or return on investment for studying at Webster Vienna Private University. And we actually have a dedicated team, the career services team, which takes care of and make sure that you actually find a good job and know what to do, especially for bachelor's degree students who haven't worked before. So part of the services would include, career counseling, career coaching. We actually have a certified career coach and career counselor, Mrs. Alexandra Deubner. She's the lady on the top right hand photo. We have our career events, so we actually also put together a photo op day for you so that you can have a nice formal official photo for your CV. We have career lunches with different employers. We have online internship opportunities as well as job postings via our job portal Job Teaser, which you can create an account in as a Webster student once you get your Webster account, your email account. We also have exclusive internship opportunities, and these opportunities would also involve having the employers come to our campus. So whether it's Bloomberg or Microsoft or the International Atomic Energy Agency, for example, they'd be willing to come to our campus and talk to our students, talk about what they're looking for in candidates. And these, by the way, these services, the career workshop, for example, and the career counseling, this can be in small groups or individual. So you just have to make sure you make an appointment. And we encourage students long before they graduate to start taking advantage of these services. So these are some of the companies where Webster Vienna Private University's graduates have ended up working, have established their careers. You see some of them are international organizations. Some of them are foreign representations like the US Embassy. We've got a lot of different international companies as well as Austrian multinational companies. So you got Siemens and IAEA is a favorite. We have a lot of students that work in the United Nations. They start off with an internship and then they eventually get the job. It's the best way to get your foot in the door. We've got, British and American companies as well as Korean companies. And this is just a small sample of the number of companies, so the companies that our students have ended up working for. So I'm very quick, as you can see, as 24 minutes, and this is our last slide. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. We definitely want to hear from you, and we have a lot of events coming up as well. So if you want to know about these events, learn about all of our programs, of our learn about our services, please email us through admissions@webster.ac.at. That goes directly to my team. I also have access to that. And our website, please be careful because Webster has different campuses and each campus has its own website. So the main campus is different from the campus in Geneva and from the campus in Vienna. Our website that directs you to the Vienna campus or to Webster Vienna Private University, which is our official name in Austria, is webster.ac.at. Now, if you have problems looking for information on the website because it's just been updated, please email us and we'll be happy to send you the direct link. We'll also be happy to schedule a phone call or a virtual Zoom meeting if that's what you prefer. And as things normalize, obviously we're still in a pandemic. If you'd like to visit our campus, we would be happy to meet with you. Just make sure there's an appointment because right now visitors can only come with an appointment. So you can't just like show up and start looking for some people to talk with. It's very important. We do have masks on campus, and right now, all of our students are in distance learning, but obviously that's going to change. And we really hope that in September, when classes start, that our students will be able to come and resume normal on-campus classes. So let me just see if you can see everything that I have now, I think. I think I stopped sharing now. Is that?
Yes, you can stop sharing, Deidre.
Perfect. So I think I've stopped, right? I've stopped sharing.
I can remove this for you and you're good.
Great, thank you. Now, because I turned off the notification at the bottom, that's why.
It's all right.
Perfect. So I'm looking at the chat question. Oh, a lot of people who said hi, hello. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go to the questions. Yes, so is this Hale or Hale? I'm sorry if I butcher your pronunciation, the pronunciation of your name. All of our programs are in English only. So that's why we don't require German proficiency. It depends on so that's from Hale or Hale, and then Feza. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing I speak German, but I know I don't speak any Turkish. Is it possible to credit transferring from a Turkish university? That really depends on, first of all, we would have to see the course description. So we would need to see the transcript as well as the syllabus or the course description of your classes. If there are similarities and we can see that the credits are the same, the number of hours you studied, the number of examinations, the number of contact hours with the professor, then it's possible. But we need to see the transcript as well as the course descriptions of certain classes. Be very careful that when you transfer to Webster Vienna Private University, if you have too many transfer credits, you could only be eligible for the American diploma. Very important, because in the Austrian accreditation requirements, 75% of your classes have to be residential in Vienna to qualify for the second diploma, which is recognized in Austria. So unfortunately, we don't offer, this is from Irfan. Bulut, do you offer MBA in healthcare? Unfortunately, we only offer a general MBA, so we don't really have a program that emphasizes in healthcare. But we also have other campuses that offer specializations in MBA, but I'm not sure if healthcare is one of them. There are other emphases in MBA in the other Webster campuses. Email us and we'll show you the other emphases from the other Webster campuses, but specifically in the US, because that's what the US campus has the most number of programs. So from Setenai, are we able to work in Vienna after our graduation? Now, it really depends on, so normally if you graduate, you have 1 year. We call it a job seeker visa. So if you're graduating from a recognized Austrian university, which Webster Vienna Private University is, because we have accreditation, normally you have a year after you graduate where you can ask for a residence permit extension to find a job. So it's very important within that year to find a job. Right now, as the requirements state, you have to have a certain salary. So if you meet that salary requirement, then you could stay longer and then convert your job seeker RWR visa into an RWR plus visa. Yeah, it's RWR because it's red, white, red. That's what they call it, Austrian flag. Yeah, so the SAT score is actually also going to be helpful. It's not required, but of course, if you have an SAT score, we could use it to replace your English proficiency requirement, for example, instead of taking a TOEFL or IELTS score. If your GPA is lower than 2.5, we look at other things. We don't believe that having high grades is the only key to success. We're very inclusive. We've had students who started off, conditionally admitted because their grades were borderline, but they really worked hard and they got to finish their degree. So yes, it depends on your SAT score, though. It has to be a good score. And we also look at your essay and your recommendation, obviously. So it's not just the grades that matter. So your bachelor's degree is 100%. This is from Merit Canley. My bachelor's degree is 100% English taught. Can I show this as a language certificate? It depends on whether your program is also requiring English proficiency. So it depends on the standards of the university you're coming from. We've got universities, for example, in Austria that teach in English, and usually we check with our main campus if this is sufficient for them. It is possible, but we can't guarantee it until we know which university it is and what their accreditation is. Obviously, if you're coming from an American university that's just located in Turkey, for example, then that's already a big plus, because obviously if it's an American program and it's recognized in the United States, then we don't have to ask for an English proficiency test. I have a question from Erin Kansis, but it's in Turkish, unfortunately. If you could translate that.
I will translate that for you.
Thank you.
It's a question about, is it the university or a high school program? So I think we can answer that.
Yeah, so we're a university. So you have to have finished secondary school to be qualified to come here. Right, so I really wish I know, is it Hale or Hale? So am I pronouncing it the American way or the Turkish way? But anyway, I'm sorry about that. But should I also type, Zeynep and Hesna, my answer?
If you want to type a specific link or email, you could do that, Deidre.
Okay, perfect. I'll go back later and see if we have time. I think it's just faster for me to say the answers out loud. Yeah, so can international students do internship while studying? Well, that depends on whether or not you qualify. So we do have partnerships. Like I said earlier, Bloomberg comes here. The International Atomic Energy Agency always asks us for interns. We have Microsoft. We actually had one student who was able to intern at Microsoft because it is an application process in itself. So you're not the only one who would want it. So you have to prove that you're actually deserving. So it is in and of itself. We have partnerships, but you also have to qualify. So you have to also balance it with your studies. You definitely have to make sure that you're still passing. We've had students who did internships and decided to go part-time, which is an option. It's not a problem, especially if the internship is quite intensive. But remember that when you're a student in Austria, you can only work for a maximum 20 hours per week. Very important. That's the maximum you can work. So from Duru, is there a sports scholarship? Unfortunately, we don't have a sports scholarship because we're at a small university. We don't really have huge athletic programs. So it's not like a university in the US per se. We're still a small university where they have multiple teams. But we have other scholarships, mostly for academics. International student can get work permit in Austria after graduation. You get a job seeker visa, and then if you find a job, then you can convert your job seeker visa after 1 year into a work permit. So that's from Feza Yalcin. That's how it goes. So after you graduate, you start looking for a job within 1 year. If you find a job with a specific salary, at the moment, there's a minimum salary requirement, but in the future, they're hoping to remove that because you did earn a degree from an Austrian accredited university. So, but at the moment, you still have to find a job within 1 year, and then you can get your job seeking permit into a work permit. What is the amount? So this is from Syrian. What is the amount required to be in the bank account when applying for a license program? So it depends. I mean, usually the tuition fees are, yeah, they're pretty substantial. So for example, for master's degrees, it depends if you're taking the MBA, you have to be able to pay 28,000 euros. That's for a 2-year program, for example. If it's a bachelor's degree program, if it's full-time, then it actually is pretty hefty as well. But that's why we also help out with student loans and scholarships. Bank account, in terms of the visa, very important. So we cannot represent students in the visa application process. So you have to be able to prove that you can support yourself in Austria. And that means that you can actually pay for your apartment. So you have to prove that you already have an apartment contract or a dormitory contract. But in terms of how much money should be in your bank account, it's pretty hefty as well. Not as expensive as if you go to the UK. But in Austria, it depends on your age. So if you're younger than 24 years of age, you have to have at least 7,000 euros in your bank account, excluding the amount you pay for your rent, right? And if you are over 24 years of age, then you have to have at least, I would say, 12,000 euros in your bank account. And that's if you have a very cheap room that you're paying for. But yes, there are certain requirements, and unfortunately, they don't care, if you're a very good student. But if you want to get a student residence permit, you have to prove that you're going to be financially capable of supporting yourself. So that's, for us, we don't really look at your bank account. You obviously can also study part-time, which is cheaper, but longer. But if that's what you can afford, for us, we understand that you can take 1 class or 2 classes and, work your way towards your degree more slowly. But for the visa process, you have to prove you can support yourself, at least for 1 year, because it's for 1 year. The visa is renewable every year, or the residence permit. So unfortunately, we don't have degree programs in animation and graphic design, but we actually have media programs. So we do, for example, media production and design. So these are courses that you can take, but if you only take specific courses and not a full degree, you cannot get a student residence permit. You have to have a full degree. The same with other universities in Austria. If you're only taking 1 class or 2 classes in specific subject areas, such as graphic design, then you will not be able to get a student residence permit. You'd probably get a tourist, a visa D or a temporary visa, but you're not going to get a 1-year residence permit. Unfortunately, we don't have an active agent in Turkey, but we could look at we have had some agents in the past, but they're not very active this year. I can take a look at that, but it's best to contact us directly because you may not need it. That's why we have events that we join. So this is from Nekati. From Ada, can we have to pass university entrance exam in Turkey for bachelor's degree application? No, the important thing is that you submit the requirements that we need. So we would require your academic records from your secondary school. Normally, we ask for 3 years. We also need to see that you are proficient in English. So we need to get a test result, which is, you can take in Turkey, for example, the International English Language Test System or Service, and that's IELTS from the British Council, or for Cambridge or Pearson. Or you could have the test of English as a foreign language in your country, TOEFL. Or you can also take the special edition, which is online, which is new since the pandemic started. Okay, how are living expenses in Vienna? They are not very cheap, but they're also not very expensive. So in comparison, let's say with Switzerland and with the United Kingdom, definitely cheaper. In terms of accommodation, depending on your taste. Obviously, if you like your facilities, if you like very luxurious facilities and you want your own dishwasher and own washing machine, then your apartment will be more expensive. But generally, you can find apartments, studio apartments, for example, from 400 euros. If you go to a student dormitory or an accommodation provider, it could start at 500 or 600 euros per month. Normally, I would say if you don't go shopping a lot, you could survive on 500 to 600 euros a month without rent, that is. So normally, if you're a young adult, you do spend about 1,000 euros, and that's with a modest apartment. So, but everywhere else, I mean, transportation is super cheap. You know, you can get Jahreskarte or a yearly card, which you can also get discounted if you're a student. And you're younger than 27. So that's the usual requirement. Is it possible to work while attending a graduate program? Definitely. Actually, I would say more than half of our master's degree students are also working. So the thing is, with our master's degree programs, almost all of them are in the evening. So for example, the MBA, marketing, finance, international relations programs are all in the evening. The only other degree program that has, the master's degree program that has morning classes is psychology. So that's the hard part. But you only really get to see your professor. You know, most of the work is also done independently. So you only get to see your professor. Last year, it was just once a week for each subject. So if you have 2 subjects, then you're basically attending 2 classes per week. So that's normally at full time. If you're part-time, you can also, and this is definitely what I would recommend for working individuals. If you really want to not just barely pass your classes and you're working full-time, I would say do it part-time. And then whenever you have, a semester where you don't have too much work, then take more classes. But I would say start part-time if you think it's going to be a struggle, and you're also going to just pay for the classes you're taking in the master's program. So it's not like fixed. The tuition fee is not fixed for the master's program. It depends on how many classes you're taking. So I think that a lot of these I was able to answer already.
Yes, Adri, thank you very much. I think you covered all of the questions. While we wait to new questions to come up, could you please share an email address that the participants can directly contact you?
Is it in the chat then? I will share the email.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to share our team's email address, because if I'm out of the office, then obviously my team members, our admissions officers, can also reply, and we all have the same information. And then, of course, our website is... Also, I wanted to share that we actually have a YouTube channel. I'm just going to pull that up. And there you can actually find some trial classes. If you want to watch some of our trial classes, I'm just going to post the channel. Okay, let me just share that. So, for example, we have a digital media class that I think would be very interesting. That's the digital media trial class. And then we have other digital trial, so basically trial classes or sample classes, sample lectures in different subjects. I would definitely encourage everyone to check them out. And obviously right now, all of our students are on distance learning because we still have a partial lockdown in Austria. So the shops have opened, but all the restaurants and the hotels are still closed, at least until Easter, which in Austria would be around, I think that's April. I would say that's April 8th is Easter Monday. So here it's definitely going to be still quiet. We do hope that in September, when classes begin, that we can have on-campus classes and still continue with hybrid classes. So hybrid means that we're actually recording all our lectures, and we're also having classes on campus. So I'm just going to type in here. Yeah, so that's just one of the things. Yeah, living expenses, I think that really depends on the student. But we would say the immigration authorities definitely require that you can prove that you can support yourself for 1 year if you want that 1-year residence permit. And I'm just going to post this page as well for the application requirements, so that it's basically, please check this out. So I'm also going to post the link. And here on the chat, I'm also going to post the admissions page. Now, very important, if you are not an EU citizen, you definitely need a residence permit. And if you are also not a citizen of a country that has visa-free entry, then the earlier the better. It's important to apply several months before you start. So if you're quite fast, for non-EU citizens, we generally recommend that if you're starting with us in September, you should be applying now, because sometimes the visa process or the application for a student residence permit takes 4 to 6 months. During the pandemic, it was slower, so I would certainly recommend that you start an application now. However, if you cannot make it to September, we obviously have the next possibility in February, so you can always start now. Very important, the MBA, Finance and Marketing master's degree programs, they can't start in February. They only start in September. But for other degree programs, whether it's a bachelor's degree or international relations master's or a psychology master, those can also start in February. So if you don't make it to the September entry with the fall semester, you can start in the spring semester. And that's actually not a bad thing, because we don't have that many new students, so you get more attention, as opposed to in the spring semester and we have 100 new students. So.
All right, thank you very much, Deidre, for your great presentation and also for the beneficial links that you shared. We believe it was a really informative webinar for the attendees, and you answered all of the questions. Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Webster Vienna Private University ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için Deidre'nin paylaşmış olduğu mail adresinden ve web sitelerden iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda sizi 5'teki webinarımıza da davet etmek isteriz. Thank you again, Deidre. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks. Is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up?
No, I mean, thank you so much for having me here. Definitely got very good questions from your viewers. And if there are any questions, please email us. If you want us to call you, obviously you just have to email us your phone number so we know what to call. And if you have questions, or if you'd like a virtual meeting with us, we always do that with students as well. Thank you so much for having me here and for inviting Webster Vienna Private University. We hope to see our viewers and new students from Turkey. Just one thing, our external sponsored scholarship from Borealis, which is a huge pharmaceutical and chemical company, that one student that got awarded that last year is from Turkey, and she's taking our international relations degree program. I couldn't get her to come here because of the short notice, but it's definitely, she's a brilliant student, and she won the scholarship last year for 20,000 euros per year. So she just has to maintain her grades for the next 3 years, and she'll keep doing that. So we hope to get more students from Turkey in the future. And certainly, please stay healthy and safe, and hope to see you soon, and I hope to visit Turkey too in the near future.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.